The Gloriana set by ThebeMoon. Read by Ella Max Mabella. Chapter 37. Slug Club, Part 1. Theo appeared at breakfast Saturday morning, urbane as always, full of apologies for leaving the festival so abruptly. Still refused to say why he left, and Hermione, feeling the justice of his words the night before, didn't press. She asked him if he'd like to study with her. A major potions exam was coming up, but Theo backed off, vaguely saying he was helping teachers. He looked a bit sourly about that, and Hermione wondered if he'd earned detentions again, perhaps by trying to sneak out of the castle. Again, she didn't press the issue. Hermione did, however, stop by the owlery after breakfast to visit the bird who had delivered Theo's note. The poor owl still looked exhausted, drooping on its perch, but its feathers were cleaner, and it snapped up the bits of bacon she'd saved from breakfast. "Hey, Brownie," she said, stroking its coffee and cream feathers. The owl hooted softly, seeming to like the name. It looked to be a young bird, its feathers still rather downy. "Be careful if you go back," she whispered, not knowing exactly what she meant, but still eager to help. "Find me if he tries to leave again." Brownie hooted in agreement. The rest of the day was surprisingly productive, and Hermione showed up to the Slug Club that night in an excellent mood. She even endured Cormac's loud explanation of defensive tactics to Stuckhorn's guest, a keeper for the Holyhead Harpies, with a rare patience, but was quite relieved when Ginny dragged her off into a corner. Ginny outshone the candles that night, Hermione thought, dressed in silver lace with her glowing hair piled on the top of her head. Those diamond eardrops looked new. If only Harry could see her so. A quick scan of the room revealed no Malfoy or Blaise. "All right, spill," Ginny said in greeting. "Which was it, Theo or Malfoy?" "Honestly, Ginny, give a girl a chance to get a drink," Hermione said, raising a hand to smooth her own unbound hair. She'd barely had time to put on one of Ginny's wrap dresses, a green silk number that hung lower on Hermione, but still seemed too short. "What are you on about?" Ginny's eyes were sparkling. "You're so rosy, happy and relaxed, so obviously something wonderful happened. Tell me." Hermione sighed in contentment. "It was wonderful, and it's been too long." "Was it planned or in the heat of the moment?" Ginny asked wickedly. "Planned, of course," Hermione said. She leaned against the tapestry and fiddled with a tassel, still smiling. "So much energy and excitement. I had this list of activities." Ginny's eyes bugged out. "You had a list of activities?" "To stimulate creativity," Hermione said. "Luna needs to hear about this." Hermione plucked a glass of wine from a floating silver tray. "Luna was there." "What?" Ginny screeched. The entire dungeon turned and stared at her. Ginny flushed. "Hermione, I know I told you to talk to Luna, but Merlin, who—" Hermione descended slightly from her cloud of euphoria, startled by Ginny's tone. "Well, Ernie was there, of course. He planned it." "Ernie!" Ginny screeched again. Everyone turned to look again, including Ernie across the dungeon, who also wore a big smile. He raised his goblet at Hermione. "Are you seriously standing here and telling me," Ginny said in shocked tones, "that Ernie Macmillan saw you naked?" "No, he just saw my bra," Hermione said, frowning. "How did you know about that?" Ginny looked about ready to faint. She grabbed Hermione's wine and drained it in one gulp. "I hope Theo hasn't been talking," Hermione said, still frowning. "So Theo, then?" Ginny's eyebrows rose. "Not Malfoy or Godric, not both of them." "What in the hell are you talking about?" Hermione demanded. "Theo and Malfoy weren't even there." She rolled her eyes. "Knowing them, they wouldn't have added much." Ginny stared at her fixedly, comprehension dawning in her eyes. "Am I to understand," she said icily, "that you showed up to this party with your hair down and that freshly fucked look in your eye after attending some swotty Ernie Macmillan prefect meeting?" Hermione's jaw dropped. "Freshly? Have you lost your mind?" Now Hermione was screeching. Neville looked over in concern and began wending their way. Ginny flushed. "Well, you must admit, I show up at a party happy and talking about excitement. You immediately think I joined an orgy? Really?" Hermione raved on. Blaise, who had just arrived, perked up at the screeched word and headed straight over. Ginny crossed her arms and looked severe. "I have learned to expect absolutely anything from you this year." "What's going on?" asked Neville, joining them. Ginny turned to him. "Hermione spent a day with student government and swears it wasn't an orgy. Oh, and Ernie saw her bra." "Ginny!" "Honestly, I can't leave this party fast enough," Neville said. "I cursed the day Slug heard I killed the snake." "Hello, darling," Blaise said, stepping up and kissing Ginny. "Did I hear word of an orgy?" "There was no orgy," Hermione snapped. "Can we all please stop saying orgy?" Neville begged. "A fear to name a thing only increases the fear of the thing itself," Ginny said, smirking at Hermione. "Nonsense, nobody fears an orgy," Blaise purred, stroking Ginny's back. "I do," Neville said. "That's it, Neville, we're dancing," Hermione said. "I'll leave you two to your sick, sick fantasies." "Oh, you'll love it," Ginny said. Neville grabbed Hermione's hand and practically yanked her over to the dance floor. "That whole conversation never happened," he said sternly. "Agreed," Hermione said in relief. She really did love Neville. Thank Godric Malfoy wasn't there yet. She certainly didn't need to hear his thoughts. At all. Not one bit. Neville spun her around, staying carefully away from Ginny and Blaise. His dancing had come on amazingly, and he looked quite sophisticated in a tailored black robe. "I heard you won the Halloween raffle," Hermione said. "Congratulations." "Well, I ended up buying a few extra tickets," he said sheepishly. 20 tickets, actually." "You bought 20 raffle tickets to win Herbs of Desire?" Hermione asked. "It's a seminal work," Neville said. "May I cut in?" Cormac McLaggen had slipped behind Hermione, his hand on her back. "No, thank you, I'm finished dancing for now," Hermione said. She blindly pulled Neville with her into the nearest group, then froze in horror, blinking at the holy-head harpy, a Slytherin 7th-year girl, and Astoria. "Oh, we're sorry to interrupt," Hermione said, turning to propel Neville somewhere else. "Hello, Miss Granger," the fresh-faced harpy said. He was a tall, athletic blonde with a dewy complexion that required no makeup. "Hello," Hermione said. "Lavinia Clark, I'd like to present Neville Longbottom." "Hello, Mr. Longbottom," the harpy said, her eyes glinting. "Call me Neville, Miss Clark." He answered politely, smiling that new, slow smile of his. Lavinia, please." "Surely you have more suitable people to talk to, Granger." Astoria sneered, seeing Lavinia's attention drawn to Neville. "More interesting people, certainly," Hermione told her. "Isn't Astoria's necklace lovely?" asked the 7th-year spitefully. "It's from someone special." "Dazzling," Hermione said. It was, actually. Astoria wore a strapless green dress in satin, her hair in an intricate braid wound around her head and studded with tiny emeralds. It was the perfect outfit to showcase that necklace, a white diamond choker that covered most of her throat. "It's Draco's interest gift," Astoria preened. "He is hopelessly extravagant." "Draco Malfoy?" asked Lavinia, turning from Neville. "I heard he was at Hogwarts this year." "Yes, many of us returned to repeat our 7th year," Neville said. Lavinia smiled back at him. Hermione, meanwhile, couldn't help looking at Astoria's necklace more closely. A crooked line of larger diamonds spelled out a subtle M. She wondered if the necklace choked its wearer if she shagged another man. You never knew with Malfoys. "So sweet and romantic, Astoria," exclaimed the other Slytherin woman. "Will the betrothal be publicly announced soon?" Lavinia looked back at Astoria with interest. "Quite soon," Astoria said airily. "First, I'll have to inform certain parties." "Have you informed Draco?" Hermione asked politely. Astoria laughed a little shrilly. Neville gave Hermione a warning look. "Well, I look forward to meeting him," Lavinia said. "Neville, would you like to dance?" "Of course," Neville said quickly, taking Lavinia's hand. He moved away with a final frown at Hermione. "Draco and I have had our tiffs," Astoria said. "There have been a few indiscretions." She looked straight at Hermione, and the other Slytherin tittered. "It's only to be expected, of course. Malfoy men are so hot-blooded," Astoria went on, her smile growing wider. "But Draco will always return to me.
Narcissa tells me his father was the same before marriage. Have you met Lady Malfoy Granger?
At Malfoy Manor, Hermione said, when I was tortured. The seventh year gasped and spilled wine on her dress.
Regrettable?
What, that it happened? Hermione asked. Or that it didn't work?
I'm sorry you still hold a grudge,
Astoria said.
Draco is working so hard to redeem the family name. As his betrothed, I hope to help him with this endeavor.
Is that so, Astoria? Asked Blaise, who had appeared behind the Slytherins. I thought your father banned the betrothal agreement.
It is still valid,
Astoria said, sipping her wine. You don't say. Blaise's eyes were cold. Let her play her games, Blaise, said Hermione. Nobody will ever trap Draco into anything. The man's as slippery as an eel. That's true, Blaise agreed, chuckling.
Perhaps you found him so.
Astoria's smile was patronizing.
But he is fully aware of his duty to me.
Hermione scoffed. He has no duty to you. Your family dropped the Malfoys like a bad knot when Lucius went to Azkaban during the war. Draco's the head of the family now, and he doesn't have to do anything. Astoria's eyes narrowed.
You seem rather well informed.
Simple logic.
You will break his mother's heart, Astoria said. Hasn't dear Narcissa been through enough? The family just wants peace. Surely you can understand that.
I'm not driving this bus, Hermione said. Talk to Draco about his mother's heart. I couldn't care less. Well, this has been fascinating, Blaise said. Will you honor me with a dance, Hermione?
Certainly.
She flashed Astoria a smile and let Blaise lead her away. Tell me you didn't just compare the new Lord Malfoy's future marriage to a bus, Blaise said with a smile. More like a train wreck if Astoria's involved, Hermione said. She's right about one thing. You are very well informed. Blaise's dark face was thoughtful as he rotated her around the floor. You and Draco have discussed this. You're his friend now, Hermione asked. You've barely spoken all term. Amazing how many friends he has all of a sudden. We've barely spoken publicly. Privately, Pansy and I have been helping him. Hermione rolled her eyes. Wow, impressive. You know what would have been even more impressive? Not leaving him to sit alone at classes and meals for nearly 2 months while the entire school pinned him as a Death Eater and racist vandal. Blaise smiled down at her, not at all offended. What? She asked. It's just as Draco said. You're like a lioness defending her cub. I don't know what you're talking about. It's a shame he isn't here yet. He would have enjoyed hearing you dress down Astoria. Are you saying that you ignoring him was some sort of Slytherin plan? Blaise sighed. Apparently your Gryffindor biases have overwhelmed that fine intellect. Yes, we felt it was important that Draco be seen to suffer for his crimes. Show some heroic fortitude.
Well, that is outrageous, Hermione cried. You have manipulated all of us. He hasn't suffered at all.
He certainly has, Blaise said seriously. More than you know. They're Death Eaters and their families who have vowed to murder him for his defection. Hogwarts is truly the safest place for him. I believe you, Hermione said, calming down. He said so on the Veritaserum. Yes, he told me how you protected him from Shacklebolt. Blaise raised the hand he was holding and brushed his lips against it. Draco has changed, and Pansy and I want people to realize it. He said, not just Slytherins, those blood messages were unexpected and threatened everything we'd been working for. He smiled widely. But then you came along. You were never afraid of him, gave him a fair chance, worked with him in potions. He's so grateful, Hermione. As am I. He lightly kissed her hand. Hermione cleared her throat. Blaise was truly charismatic. So that's it? You're done? She asked, backing away slightly. That's it, he said. I can turn my attention to more interesting things now, such as the lovely Ginevra. I assume you have plans for the lovely Ginevra too, Hermione said darkly as the music ended. I wouldn't like to see her hurt. And have you rained hexes on my hat like an avenging goddess? Never, Blaise said, smiling. Save your hexes for Draco. He led her off the dance floor and bowed before strolling off. Hermione sighed. Everyone truly did think she was a violent, crazy person. He watched Neville dance with Lavinia, and Blaise twirl Ginny, his dark eyes never leaving hers. Astoria still held her cord, a diamond choker sparkling her eyes on the door. Where was that wretched wizard, anyway? If he didn't get her soon, Astoria would have them married with an heir by the end of the evening.
"Miss Granger?"
Slughorn boomed behind her. Hermione groaned inwardly, but it served her right for being so inattentive.
"How do you like my little affair?"
"It's lovely, Professor," she said, turning to face him. "Everyone is enjoying the dancing."
"I'd like to introduce you to Wazir Montesque, my dear."
Slughorn moved slightly to reveal a tall, gaunt man in a shapeless black robe. The man's eyes were dark on the pale face, his lips red. There was something about those eyes, a deadness she'd seen before at another Slug Club gathering. Hermione looked at Slughorn. "Is he a—"
"Yes, my dear,"
Slughorn said jovially.
"So clever of you to spot it out right, but then that's to be expected, yes? Dear Wazir is a vampire visiting from Romania. Wazir, this is the celebrated Hermione Granger. I'm sure you will have plenty to talk about. Excuse me."
The professor moved away quickly. If she did know better, she'd think he was nervous.
"That one,"
the vampire said in a low, hissing voice.
"He sees everything and yet nothing, knows everyone and yet nobody."
"He can be very canny, however," Hermione said. "About people, I mean."
"Yes,"
he said softly.
"Like any collector, he likes the rare and the beautiful."
His eyes, an endless black, swept over her.
"And you? I suspect he finds both."
Hermione did her best not to shiver. Blast Slughorn for leaving her alone with a vampire. "Mr. Montesque."
"Wazir, please."
"Wazir," Hermione repeated. She thought about giving the same permission, but found herself not wishing to hear her name on his lips. "What brings you to Britain?"
"I am an exile,"
he said slowly.
"The vampire community in my native Romania no longer welcomes me."
"Why not?" she asked. "I'm sorry that was rude. My curiosity often gets the better of me."
"Such a lovely blush," Wazir crooned. "The blood rushing to that sweet face."
"Wazir," Hermione said sharply, "there will be no talking about my blood." He read enough about vampires to want to head off that line of thinking. Vampires weren't the mindless predators everyone believed, but they were given to sudden, dangerous impulses, especially in the shadows. He was uneasily aware of the donjon's romantic and suddenly rather inadequate candlelit setting.
"Oh, of course. My abject apologies."
The vampire tilted his head slightly.
"Yes, truly rare."
She glowered a little, and he bowed again.
"My native Romania has expelled me because I crave too much the company of others."
Hermione frowned. "Is that a euphemism for, you know?" She bared her teeth and pretended to bite. Wazir gave an odd cough that she realized was a laugh.
"No, no. I drink the blood of animals now."
He sighed.
"Sustains the life, yet always I hunger."
He bowed again in apology, obviously worried he had offended her again.
"Vampires, we are traditionally solitary, yet I so enjoy the talking with others. But in a small country like Romania, this is dangerous. I had hoped in a larger wizarding community I may do better."
"Is Slughorn your sponsor?" Hermione asked. He remembered that all foreign vampires require a sponsor to guarantee their behavior. It was a part of the ministry guidelines for the treatment of non-wizard part humans.
"So knowledgeable,"
he murmured.
"No, that would be, shall we say, too—"
"Risky?" Hermione hazarded.
"Yes,"
he nodded satisfied.
"Professor Slughorn, he likes the sure thing. No, my sponsor is Domnul Kingsley Shacklebolt, who captured me once long ago in Romania, then helped integrate me into my community."
"Kingsley," Hermione said warmly.
"You knew him?"
"He is a personal friend," she said. "He saved my life during the war."
"A very brave and powerful wizard."
Bazil said.
He has saved my life as well.
He stared at her with those spooky eyes.
I find myself jealous of my friend, that he once saved the life of one such as yourself. I would count myself entirely satisfied.
Hermione shook her head. You vampires, always away with the ladies. I wonder... She looked at the creature thoughtfully, an idea taking shape in her mind.
How may I serve you, Princessa?
Bazil asked. He bowed.
Princess?
I am not a princess, she said. My parents are muggles. They fix teeth.
You are a princessa in the true sense of the word. Again, how may I serve you? Something moves within those white, beautiful eyes, shining like the rarest amber. They pierce that heart. You have a look not unlike my friend Kingsley, yet deeper, more seeing.
Hermione was only half listening, having come to a decision. Any minute, her friends would spot her with a vampire and carry her off. I am working on an experimental potion, she said. Before I say more, I'll have to ask you to keep this a secret even from Kingsley. You will likely know eventually, but not yet.
I will keep your secrets, Princessa.
I'm not... She sighed and gave up. I'm trying to create a magical blood potion. If it works, it can identify if a substance contains magical blood. This potion can also match that magical blood with blood from a witch or a wizard.
A powerful potion indeed,
Bazil said, eyes narrowing. Hermione looked around and moved a bit closer into the corner. She didn't want to be too far in the shadows with the vampire, yet wanted to elude notice a little longer. Ginny was looking her way. Bazil, she continued, the blood we need to identify is from a message that has appeared twice at Hogwarts. The message was, Die Mudbloods. My potion partner and I think the messages may be the result of a curse rather than merely painted on the walls. These words have appeared in 2 separate locations on castle walls, and we're trying to find the source of the curse before another one appears. The vampire tapped his lips with a stick-like finger topped with a red nail.
How can I help?
I don't know, honestly. She bit her lip. But if anybody knows about curses and blood, it's the vampire.
I will consider this,
Bazil said.
May I meet you again?
Someplace public, Hermione warned. Bazil looked regretful.
Of course, Princessa. The White Wyvern in Nocturne Alley?
That will have to do, I suppose, she said. There weren't many public places one could meet a vampire. She pulled 2 galleons out of her dress expandable pockets and tapped them with her wand, muttering a charm. When I'd like to meet, I will change the date on my coin, and it will change on yours. She tossed him a coin, not wanting to touch him, and his white fingers snagged it.
A protein charm?
He murmured. Yes, Sid.
I do hope I'm not interrupting,
said a voice behind her, so cold and terrifying that she hardly recognized it. Bazil's coin vanished in a flash, and she pocketed hers again. Then she turned. Bazil, she said, may I present Lord Draco Malfoy? To be continued. Next up, Draco throws a tantrum. Thank you for listening to this chapter of The Gloriana Set by ThebeMoon. If you'd like to stay up to date on upcoming chapters and stories, you can follow me on AO3, YouTube, or Spotify.